Good evening, guys. How are you all doing? Welcome back again. I'm right back on your screens to raise your frequencies a little higher. Tonight, we are going to have an exciting conversation. This guest is an expert in the field of crystal skulls, and his passion drives him to share the crystal skull knowledge with all over the people around the globe. Before I bring him on air, I want to share the cover pages of his books, which you guys can actually order and have your own copies. So here we go. That's the first direct contact series of booklets with a variety of sacred crystal skulls. The next one is Journey into the Unknown and Back Again. The third, Journeys of the Crystal Skull Explorers, Travel Log 1. And the fourth, Journeys of the Crystal Skull Explorers, Travel Log 2. And these books can be yours. You can order them online on cse.crystalskullexplorers.com. And you can also email Joshua. So this guest is, I'm really fascinated with this entire crystal skulls. And I'm very, very fortunate that Joshua has given his time to us. So without further delay, I'm going to invite Joshua Shapiro with us.
I'm here.
Hello, Joshua. Welcome on You Are Invincible. And this is the first time you are in India through this screen. Many congratulations to us and a lot of welcome to you from all of us. How are you doing?
Just adjust my screen. I'm doing great. I'm excited. I've always had a fascination with India and how there could be a country with only spiritual people.
Right.
So I think
Thank you
that's
so much.
very interesting.
So before we start off with our conversation, I want to introduce you a little more, which I will do so. It is a pleasure for you to be here with us on Facebook Live. So Joshua has felt a strong connection with these artifacts, and since then he has devoted his entire life and resources to sharing the best information he can about this crystal artifact and the future role that they will play to help our planet to see world peace and harmony. I'm seriously really intrigued and really looking forward to get an insight on how this entire thing works. Really fascinated, Joshua. So thank you so much for being with us. And now I would like to start with our question and answers. If you feel you can add something, otherwise we'll go ahead with the questions.
Now let's delve into the questions. I'm ready. I'm a typical Aries, always ready.
Fantastic. All right. So the first one, how did you stumble upon these crystal skulls? And what do you recall as one of your most memorable experiences during the research of these crystal skulls?
Well, like most people here in the United States and probably in Europe, there was a special program called Arthur C. Clarke Mysterious World. I don't know if it was shown in India. But in the beginning, before each show would start, it would have a crystal skull, which was actually the most well-known, called the Mitchell-hedges. So from that program, I was aware of it, but I never thought that I would become so involved with it. So really, I call it day one of being a crystal skull explorer was when I went to my friend's metaphysical bookstore in San Jose, California in April of 1983. And while I was sharing with her, to see if she wanted copies of my first book, Journeys of an Aquarian Age Networker, she pulls out a picture of an amethyst crystal skull, which I actually have a picture of that here on my book.
Yes. We just showed the cover of that. Yes.
Right. So that purple skull on the cover, that's the one I met. And that's really what changed my life. And it was just a picture of that skull at first. And then a couple of weeks later, I actually met that crystal skull. And so to make a long story short, while I was looking at the picture, my body was vibrating inside. And then about a half an hour later, there was an earthquake in California, about 150 miles south of where we were. And the table that the picture was on was shaking. So I call that the inner outer earthquake experience. And then I can't remember exactly how, but I remember receiving a message through the picture from this crystal skull. And it was kind of saying to me, like, we're returning now to help humanity to create world peace. So Joshua, now that you know this, what are you going to do? So the first thing I did, of course, is I had a copy of the picture of the skull, and I started to share it with people. And then after I got a chance to meet this with that skull in person, I just had a really strong connection and energy, and I just kept sharing. And then eventually I met the co-authors of my first book, Mystery of the Crystal Skulls Revealed, which unfortunately is out of print. That's why you didn't show that cover.
Right. Yes.
And, and then just started traveling, seeing more crystal skulls, giving more lectures, and inviting to do interviews like this on TV and radio. And, again, each time I would meet new skulls, I would learn new things. So that's pretty much how I started. What was the second part of the question you asked me again?
The second was any memorable experience during the research of any of these crystal skulls?
So the experience that I'm looking at, so I assume this is the one I'm to share, this is how it works, is, I'm not supposed to show this girl yet, but I will because he's involved in this experience. So I had this crystal skull, Patel de Luz, made by a Brazilian carver. It's a modern skull.
It's beautiful.
And I have to move it opposite in order for it to be shown properly. Anyway, that crystal skull, and we'll come back to him later, was with me. And now I know some of your listeners, if you're into the spiritual paranormal, you might believe this, but it may sound crazy. But I hear in my mind's voice this skull speak to me. And we came up with the name of Portal de Luz, which is portal of light in English. So I call him Portal for short. So Portal was saying to me, and he calls me Dad, he says, Dad, we have to go to the crop circles when we're in England. Because I had a chance to visit England, I think it was around 2004. And so, that just was in my mind, and we had an opportunity to visit a crop circle. And what I want to do is I want to talk about when I met this researcher in England, and we agreed to do some research to see how the energy of the crystal skull would affect the energy of the crop circle. So I think that would be interesting. So he had a device that could measure the electromagnetic frequency in the crop circle. And it had a scale from minus 100 to plus 100. So what we did is first we measured at the center of the crop circle, and this crop circle looked like a yin-yang pattern. Okay? So he took his device and he found that the energy at the center was 0. Okay?
Right.
Then we had the crystal skull was sitting near the center because I was going to do a meditation with the skull. But before I did, and there were 3 of us there, and we all saw inside of the crystal skull what looked like an energy vortex going up and down really fast.
Wow.
Okay?
All right.
So my interpretation of what the skull was showing us was that this energy field going up and down really fast was negating itself, so the value of the energy was 0. As it was going so fast, it just was 0. So then what I did, now again, this may sound kind of crazy to your viewers, but his favorite music, it's like he's a person. Gordon's a person. It's a living consciousness that works through this crystal skull. And I'm not the only one. There are other people, other what we call guardians of crystal skulls who have the same experience. They're having some type of communication with their crystal skull. So Portal's favorite music is and I'll say it the way it's pronounced in Germany because I got to visit this composer's gravesite, Pachelbel or Pachelbel, but it's actually Pachelbel. And Pachelbel's canon in D. So we didn't have MP3 players then. We had portable CDs. So I had a portable CD listening to that music on a CD. And what my experience was is, and I'm holding the crystal skull, and I have a picture of this that people can see if they're interested later. Where I'm holding the skull, I'm sitting on the ground, listening to the music. And first, what I felt was like a cone of energy around me, almost like I was going into a different reality. And I was totally focused within myself, what was happening, and oblivious to whatever else was going on outside of myself. That's how it felt. And then about halfway through the song, I couldn't stop myself. I felt like I need to sing with it. Now, this song doesn't have any words, so I don't know. I was just, going la la, or I don't know what I did. But I thought I was singing with it in perfect harmony. And then after the song was done, then I was done with the meditation. When I came out, people were looking at me and going, "What song were you singing? We never heard that before." So I don't know what was happening to me, but it was really strange. So then what the researcher did is he measured around the crystal skull, and it was like plus 100 was the energy. Wow. And we had actually put Patel in the center before he did the meditation, and it didn't change the energy reading. It was still 0. But then after I put him in this time and we took him out, then it was plus 100 also.
Wow, that's intriguing.
So I don't know if it's the combination of the music, of meditating, or maybe it was the music and meditating activated the energy in the crystal skull, but we were able to create a difference. Now, I know you only asked me one, but I feel to say about one other one that was very interesting.
Yes, please, for sure.
And with that skull. So this was in Belgium. This was when I was living in Holland. I lived in Holland from, I think, 2001 to 2007 or 8. So probably 2003, 2004. So I had this friend who I had met when I did a presentation on crystal skulls in Belgium before. He invited me to come to his house, and he had a group that worked with a device called a molecular antenna, which is named after antenna. Molecular antenna, the only way to describe it is it's a dowsing rod type device, but it has numbers on the side. And the practitioners who work with this device, they know when they use it how to measure for specific frequencies of energy. Like they'll use it on a person to see what might be the illness that's going on with them, or if they're looking for something in the ground or a certain type of energy. So this was my friend's class and their teacher were all there, and they were going to use the device, which they pointed towards the crystal skull and see, what happened. So the teacher said before we started, "You are wasting your time. This is a stone. Nothing is going to happen." Okay? And so they went ahead and they did their test. And all of a sudden, the researchers came back to the teacher and say, "This crystal skull is emanating the energies of the 5 human senses." Wow. What? That's not possible. Go back and try it again. They did it 3 times. And 3 times he showed that he was emanating that. So, when I say there's a living consciousness speaking to me through the skull, maybe this test that we did with the molecular antenna is a sign of that, okay? Because of the vibrational frequencies that are being emanated. Now, there's other frequencies, but this was pretty amazing. So hopefully those 2 experiences can give your viewers some idea about very special, unique frequencies
Sorry,
of
Joshua,
energy.
we just lost you for a few seconds. So if you can just share it again, the frequencies. We just lost you for 3-4 seconds for the.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yeah. Yes,
okay.
Yes. Please go ahead.
So those 2 experiences, I think, gives your viewers an idea of the type of energies that are linked to the crystal skulls. So this is what makes them very mysterious, is that, that they're affecting people in very profound ways. And, so I've been fortunate that I've had an opportunity to work with different type of electronic devices to try to measure these frequencies and to verify that indeed, the crystal skulls can have an impact upon people. But the other thing that the viewers need to understand is this is not true for every crystal skull. Like, for example, if somebody just carves one, okay, and they haven't worked with it, like Portal de Luz has been to Stonehenge, crop circles. I have no idea how many world peace meditations we've done with him. He said in hundreds of sessions. I do intuitive sessions with people. Many people have held and worked with him. He's been with other crystal skulls that are very powerful. So all of these things are factors that helped to bring it. And even one time in Holland, I had the crystal skull presented to a Mayan priest or shaman who's very knowledgeable about crystal skulls, and he thought that it came from Guatemala, when in fact it was a modern skull carved by a Brazilian carver. So it means that the frequencies of energies that he had recorded, picked up, was emanating was similar to the very old skulls which they guard, which they don't want to show to anyone because they know they're sacred tools and they want to protect them.
Wow. Wow. That's something. I'm still trying to, visually understand this, how it would have been with the crystal skull in your hand and the energy to be felt. That's something really amazing. I would like to experience it myself someday, for sure.
All you have to do is get your own crystal skull, and I'll tell you how to activate it. Like yesterday, I was doing a test with a friend. It's called the Drapa disc that I think came out of China in a cave with some crystal skulls. And Portal de Luz, there was one with circular grooves. It was, I don't know, a green type of stone. I'm not sure what kind of stone it was. And I was behind him. We were using Skype. So I showed Portal de Luz to my friend, and he showed me the disc. But the two objects really loved each other. The energy was very high. And then after we finished, the weight of Portal de Luz was much heavier than he normally is. So that when that happens, when he becomes heavier, it shows me that he's processing a new energy. He's integrating a new energy. So that was kind of interesting too. So I never know when I try these experiments what's going to happen. So that's why I like working with the skulls. I have to have adventure as an Aries or I'm bored.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, going to the next question is something that you also talk a lot, and that's on the lines of what is your take on meditation, the seven chakras, raising your frequency, and how do these skulls help you to enhance these aspects?
Okay,
I'll
so you
repeat the
got a
question.
whole
So,
bunch of
your take on,
things.
yeah,
Meditate.
yes, your
Okay,
take on meditation, the seven chakras, raising your frequency, and how do the skulls help in all of this?
okay. So for meditation, to me, it's very simple. It's talking to yourself inwardly and totally closing yourself outwardly. Because I believe that the essence of who we are is we're divine children of God, we're immortal souls. We've chosen to have an experience at this time. Actually, this time is quite amazing, even though right now it looks like, everything's being locked down and we have the pandemic and everything, but really it's a catalyst for an amazing sequence of events that are getting ready to happen that are going to blow people away. People who are into the paranormal, they're not going to be surprised by this, but the person who lives we call it the 9 to 5 job, the normal life, you get up, you go to work, you come home, there's going to be an entirely different world. So the meditation is basically just a system or a process, and everybody has their own unique way of doing their meditation, where they're trying not to pay attention to what's outside of them and be quiet and listen to what's within. Because I believe that we are all aspects of Creator, that we all have within ourselves the ability to connect to all wisdom and all knowledge. But the challenge is that when we're in a physical body, it's very difficult to deal with the higher frequencies of this wisdom and knowledge. I mean, if somebody really went into very high levels, their vibration would be so high they would disappear from our reality. Okay, this is what I believe. So, in order to ensure that we, stay in our body and complete whatever is our mission or goal in life or experience in life, um, you know, it's not allowed for us to completely go into this other aspect of ourselves. But this is the key: is that you can establish this communication to the spiritual essence of your being as you have decisions to make or challenges in life. All you have to do is just do a meditation, go in, and if you trust some answer can come through the meditation, or you're asking a question inwardly and telling the universe, I want to have an understanding or knowledge, and then into your conscious awareness, maybe while you're awake, maybe while you're asleep, something will come up that will give you the answer to those questions that you're asking. So this to me is what I feel is the meditation. Now, 7 chakras are just energy vortexes in the body, and each one seems to have some color associated with it. Each one is different. When I do my spiritual consultations, I actually I don't look at, I feel the energy of the person's chakra. And depending upon which one are blocked, I know what is blocked in their life and what is challenging. So, for example, for women, their heart chakra should be totally open, which is emotions and love.
Yes.
But many of them, it's closed because they're so sensitive to criticism by other people and being mistreated and strong emotions that was the only way they could protect themselves. And that really is negating the natural aspect of the feminine energy. Now, even though for women that may be stronger than men still have the heart chakra. And this is, again, the place where, the love vibration, the love frequency is.
Yes.
And the key is to be able, so I just think about going to the chakra. Again, everybody will have their own way, their own system. But as soon as I think about it, I feel myself being there. So, they just represent different energy aspects of life. And of course, the crown being the
chakra.
highest would link us to the divine, and the root chakra being the lowest
The
links
foundation.
us,
Yeah.
right, and more about being in the physical and
Right. And it is so
creation.
important that all the 7 chakras are aligned and they are open so that we can function in the right manner and we are able to elevate ourselves to the higher consciousness. If one or two of them are blocked, it's like a ripple effect, because if for example the root chakra is blocked, the sacral chakra is next to it, so that starts to affect the sacral chakra, and hence it's like a ripple effect. So it's so important that we acknowledge and we are able to transform and open them up, that we are able
Right,
to connect to the source.
right. So I'm not an expert on this. There are people who have courses that teach you how to work with the different chakras. But I would say the keys chakra, uh, well, they're all important, but a chakra I think that a lot of people don't give attention to is the solar plexus, which is the divine will and not giving your power away in life, the will to
Right.
create what you feel inspired to do. So that also is very important as well.
Right.
So, and then the third eye chakra gives you the inner vision,
The
which,
intuitions. Yes.
right, which I use too, but it's not my strongest. So my strongest gifts is I feel energy and I hear. So like when you asked me what's my experience, I just went with what was the first one that came up. I mean, there are so many experiences that I've had with the crystal skull, so I just trust that the right one for this program will come up. For another interview, I might share different ones.
Mm.
So
Right. So how do you think the crystal skulls would help us in elevating our frequencies in meditation and connecting to the higher source?
right. Well, so this is the thing when you meditate with the crystal skull. So first of all, we need to understand that the crystal skull is a transmitter and receiver. Now, this is with quartz. They're making crystal skulls of other gemstones, and I'm not an expert on the other gemstones. I have a stronger affinity for quartz crystal skulls, which were the
Right.
first ones that people talked about. But the other ones made from other gemstones for different people can be just as powerful. It's just, for me, it's the quartz. I have to talk about my own experience, and I have to
Right.
reference the quartz skull. So for me, any quartz piece is a transmitter and receiver of a wide range of vibrational frequencies. Now, because I believe once a crystal skull is awakened or becomes activated, which is what we help people to do when they get their own skull, and a living consciousness comes in, the living consciousness creates a relationship with its owner or guardian and knows where the person is strong and weak vibrationally.
Right.
So when a person does a meditation, it's almost like the crystal skull is like a vibrational frequency doctor, and they'll say, the solar plexus isn't so good. Let me see if I can send some frequencies of energy to help the person with that. Or it might be like the skull I showed is smoky quartz. Smoky quartz is a darker stone that's better for grounding. But there's absolutely black smoky quartz. So maybe a person might use smoky quartz in meditation to help ground because they're way out there. You know, they have trouble dealing with this reality because they can't focus on things and they're always, in a higher state. So what I'm saying is the crystal skull acts as a tool to help the person in their spiritual evolution and growth, and that it almost, as soon as you meditate with it, it's kind of like a computer, which, by the way, has crystal inside of it. Excuse me, let me take a drink.
Yes. Yes, please.
This is not alcohol, it's cherry juice.
If you say so.
Yes. I don't like alcohol, actually. So anyway, let's see, where was I?
The
So,
transmitter is like a computer. The inside the
the
crystal skull.
computer nature of it. So, like when you're with a computer, you type in the code and you get a response. Well, the crystal skull is the same. It sends an energy, gets a response, and then it knows what energies to share with the person. So the person can sleep with the crystal skull by them, or on them, or next to them. Or they can go out into nature in a very peaceful place and do a meditation. Or they can participate in a group meditation, like we've had world peace meditations on the 13th of
Yes.
every month, which we don't do anymore, but we used to do that in order to send out a positive energy,
energy.
because the other thing the crystal skull does is it will amplify your thoughts and the energy that you want to send. So it amplifies it to send it out. It's a
Right.
geometric multiple of that energy. It's not like one or two times. It's a geometric multiple. So, I just see the crystal skull, therefore, as a tool to be worked with meditation. Now, my most powerful meditations, this is for me, is I'm also a musician of sorts. I think I've been a
Oh, wonderful.
musician in a past life. And so there's certain music where, like I was just doing this the other night after I finished watching my baseball game. I went on to Spotify and I started adding more songs on my new tab that I received from Amazon and the tablet. And, certain music I really love and I couldn't help myself. I had to move and just share that energy and that joy and everything.
The same way how you had an experience when you first had the crystal skull experience, and then you went into the field after that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So certain songs, meditating with the skull, I just feel absolute joy. Like The Greatest Showman, there's one song on there,
Yes.
one song on there that I listen to it, and it's like I can't help myself. If I totally let go, I feel like this is my way to link in with the highest consciousness, with God. I don't know what I link into, but I just feel a lot of joy. So this is what also I think the crystal skulls do when a person starts doing meditation. They help to balance their energy and get them more in touch with their inner joy, which is their inner child.
Right.
So the challenge, okay, so now I'm going to challenge all your viewers. Okay, I have a
All
homework
right,
assignment.
viewers.
Yeah, homework assignment. I want you to take your most favorite music that you have, and if you happen to have a special stone, you can use it too. If not, it doesn't matter. Go out into nature where no one can see you. But this has to be a song that when you hear it, you have to then and just totally let go and see what happens. See if you feel that joy.
The
Okay, you
energy.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, feel that energy, that joy. Because once you've experienced it one time, you can never forget it. And you'll go, that was so great. I'm going to go out every day and do it. Or once a week and do this. Okay? And what it does is when you get in touch with that joy, you have more energy, you have more clarity in your life. And it's just, you'll see things totally different. And especially right now, with the way the world is right now, where the media is trying to I don't know. I know you're going to ask me about this later, but we'll just say where the media is promoting fear of this pandemic. We need to have people who are not afraid, who are joyful, who see a positive future, who are going
So
in touch with,
important. Yeah.
yeah, and going in touch with that spiritual part, which will tell you really what's going on, because the major media is not telling us everything. I mean, they're taking.
Right. Right.
Like I had a friend who had a group. They took her down from Facebook because she was not going with the so-called narrative, looking at the other possibilities and options. So this is very important to get in touch
Mm-hmm.
with that joy, because what happens is when you're joyful, you become infectious, and then other people go, "Well, if he or she's happy, what is it? What are they doing? I want to have that." And
Absolutely.
then what happens is we create what's called the 100th monkey effect that Ken Keyes wrote
Yes.
about long ago,
Yes.
where if a certain number of people have joy, then all of a sudden every person on the planet is joyful, dancing and singing
Absolutely.
and hugging each other and only seeing a positive future.
Absolutely. And it is so important to realize that each one of us have that potential. And that's how the name of my channel also came across, that you are invincible, because each one of us have that conviction, that power inside of us to have that kind of a joy, to have that kind of a happiness, you know. So yeah, it's very interesting how you shared about, the skull being like a transmitter and elevating the energies that we have. That's beautiful. I'd just like to remind the viewers who have just joined us is that we're having an amazing conversation with Joshua Shapiro. He is a crystal skull expert and a paranormal researcher as well. So, Joshua, I'd like to ask you the next question, which again is very, very interesting as you. What is the Mandela effect? If you can throw some light on it.
Okay, so I don't remember the name of the woman who coined this phrase,
I guess
but
Fiona, if I can
yeah,
recollect, somebody
yeah,
named Fiona. Yeah.
right. Well, the reason she called it this is because she had a memory of Mandela, who in this reality, he became president of South Africa, but he was in prison for a time.
Yes,
Okay?
27 years approx.
Right. But what she found out was there were people she met who said, "No, isn't he already dead? Didn't he die in prison?" I remember distinctly watching on television on the news where they had a special ceremony to honor him because he passed away. And so what she noticed was that there wasn't just one person who remembered it differently, there were quite a few. So she started to look and see if there were other differences in how people remember things happening in the past. Now, my favorite one comes from an American movie which deals with baseball. It's called Field of Dreams. Okay? Kevin Costner is
Kevin
the main
Costner.
actor. Yeah. So probably not known in India, but it's a spiritually motivated movie for sure because it has ghosts in it, ghosts of famous baseball players. So anyway, the key is Kevin Costner is a farmer in Iowa. And so he's working on his cornfield, and all of a sudden he hears a voice, and people remember it differently. Some people remember, if you build it, he will come. Okay, I'll say it again because we have a siren behind you.
Yeah, sorry about that. We have a lot of emergencies in these
Okay.
days. Yes.
Okay, so in the
Please go
movie,
ahead.
he says, the boy says, if you build it, he will come. So at first he doesn't know who it is. And then later on, he sees like a vision of his father's favorite baseball player. And he had a lot of trouble with his father, didn't have good communication. Shoeless Joe Jackson of the old Chicago White Sox. And so then he gets a vision, oh, I need to make a baseball field. So Shoeless Joe Jackson, who was thrown out of baseball because of some gambling and cheating, and he wasn't involved, but he got thrown out of baseball. This is in like 1920. He was a great, great player. So he felt like he had to build a baseball field so that his father's favorite player could play again. And his father's
Right.
favorite player all of a sudden comes out of the cornfield and asks him, "Is this heaven?" Because he's died. He's a ghost. And but other people remember in the movie it's saying, "If you build it, they will come," referring to the 8 Chicago White Sox baseball players who were thrown out of baseball because they cheated and they lost the World Series to the other team that they were playing, so the gamblers could make a lot of money.
Right.
So those 8 players come out, and people remember, no, the voice said, if you build it, they will come, meaning the 8 players. But actually, the way the movie was set up, which was beautiful, was at the end of the movie, his father, who was a baseball player, shows up on the field and they get to reconnect. So really, the message, if you build it, he will come, is about his father returning and not all the other baseball players. But people still remember it differently. What about Star Wars? I think it was in the second Star Wars movie done where Luke is fighting Darth Vader, and Darth Vader says to Luke, uh, some of us remember him saying, "Luke, I am your father." But the way the movie is, and I went back, is no, I am your father. So again, a different memory of something in the past. So this became known as the Mandela effect, where people started studying and finding people had different memories of how things worked. Now, uh, this was very intriguing to me, so I tried to look for maybe some explanations of how is this possible. So one explanation is, and I know this is true, there are parallel Earths. In other words, there are other parallel dimensions with another Earth where there could be other us's, and those other us's are making different decisions. Like, for example, in this case, I wasn't sure when your associate Nick contacted me, is this a real group or not? So I did my typical Jewish thing. I challenged him, let's talk. I don't know who you guys are.
Right.
Is this real? So in a parallel Earth, that Joshua decides, no, I'm not going to work with
Hmm.
your group. Okay? And he's out of luck because you guys are really nice, and we've been having many good conversations prior to this. So I highly recommend
Thank
to all
you.
the viewers, you're going to watch all their interviews. It's not only they are invincible who's doing this. It's really amazing.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely. We all as a team are doing this.
right. So one possibility is that we could be shifting and not even being aware of it with our other selves. And so that's why we have different memories, okay,
Hmm.
because we're shifting with our counterparts and we're going into, like I could be shifting right now with my counterpart, and then I go into the reality where the Field of Dreams movie, they say, if you build it, they will come. And I'm saying, no, I watched the movie and it's he will come. And then I watched their version of the movie over there and it says they. And I'm going, what's going on? And I remember that from being in the theater too, because I went to see it when it came out. It's always been for me. If you build it, he will come. There was something else I saw on YouTube which is really crazy. But I have I have something given to me by Spirit. Spirit told me, if you can imagine something, you can only imagine it because it already exists somewhere. There's nothing you can imagine that doesn't already exist. That's what it was told to me. So one time on YouTube, I watched a video which was talking about some strange guy that shows up in one of the internet forums. I think it was a scientific forum. And he starts making the most strange comments ever. Okay? Now, I believe that this is true, and I'm going to go into one experience I had at a place in Peru that maybe is connected to this. So this guy shows up and says, I'm not supposed to be talking to you, but I actually exist in a different dimension, and we are the ones who control what happens on your planet. Like we have a computer, which implies a computer simulation, which, by the way, when we talk about those free ebooks that you have the message, one of the ebooks deals with this, actually.
Correct.
So he was saying that through the computer systems they have, they can change our reality. They can change the past so it ripples through, and then all of a sudden everybody remembers something different. Okay? But he said the reason why they made a big change was because in 2012 our planet was supposed to be like destroyed by a nuclear war or something of this nature.
Right.
But they changed it. They changed it. And so when they make these changes, it changes the memory of people of the past. Except my belief is people who are very advanced spiritually remember the original timeline. So this was another explanation that came up. Now, further with this is in Peru, there is a gigantic stone door by Lake Titicaca, which is the southern part of Peru near the border with Bolivia. And the local people say this is the gate of the gods, that some people, like at night, have actually seen come through this stone door. Like, it changes its vibrational frequency so somebody can come through it. Very tall hooded beings that they think are the gods. So we did a spiritual tour to Peru, I think it was in 2009. And I have a friend who is one of the key people that shared, because he has his tour agency down in this area of Peru, that talked about this story. He called it Amaru Maru. The local people speak a different language. They don't speak Spanish. I think they call it Wilca Unta, something like that, which means Gate of the Gods. So we took the tour there, and of course, Portal de Luz, I had to do a meditation in front of the door with a special song I've written. I call it the Crystal Skull theme song. If any of you are interested, there actually is a YouTube of me playing it here in the Atlanta area one time. So I don't have the greatest voice, but one day I'm going to conduct this song with people who can sing it the way that it should be, and all the instruments and everything is going to be really powerful.
Yes.
But that's in the future. So anyway, I was singing to that song. I warned the people in the group, said I might be crazy, but I have to sing this song, meditating with Pearl in front of this door. And at the end, I sing One Family, and if you want to sing with me, that would be amazing. So I couldn't hear if they did or not. Anyway, I was in front of that door. Portal de Luz, very interesting. I dropped him twice. I never dropped him, but I dropped him twice. And I think that was necessary because he needed to be altered in order to receive whatever frequencies are connected to that door. And I remember that there was a small little crack in the back of his head I saw, which of course has disappeared now. But I saw that while I was there. And then the other thing that came up for me, besides having a powerful meditation, was that somebody who was videotaping it while I was meditating, there was like something that quickly flew in front of his camera. And I don't know what it was. I don't think it was an insect or anything like that. It was something strange. While I'm doing the meditation, something flew in front. Now, I have a friend named Jerry Wells who goes to Peru a lot, and he has told this story to many people that claims that a shaman, a Peruvian shaman, taught him how to do a certain tone or sound. Said if you make this tone in front of the door, it will open and you can go inside. So
All
according
right.
according to his wife, I guess they had just gotten married. She watched him disappear. He went into the door, and when he got on the other side, it was like in a white room, and he heard a voice talking to him, saying, "Hey, you, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here." And he go, "Where am I? And what is that structure in front of me?" So there was some kind of a structure held on by kind of like metal beams. And the voice said, "Well, we're scientists, and what you're looking at is the universe, the computer simulation that we created of a universe so we could study our own. And we didn't put any life into it, and life just showed up. So that's where you came from. You're part of that universe, which is a computer simulation." Now,
Wow.
there's
So it
a,
could be like a portal. That
yeah,
door could be a portal to a different
now,
dimension. That means.
now, after I heard Jerry Wills say this, now again, I can't prove this, but whenever I think about this door and think about the scientist on the other side, I can kind of feel like they're talking to me, but the words are bouncing off my head and I can't understand it, or I just know they're talking with me. I can hear them, but I can't hear what they're saying. So, so the last thing, so what I'm saying is the Mandela effect could be a result of these scientists using their computers. They probably have quantum computers, I would guess, very fast computers, changing events that have happened in our past through their computers, and this is causing the Mandela effect. But the last thing
Right.
I would say is there's a scientist, and I don't know what his last name is, that I saw on a TV show. He was at a conference. I think they were also talking about the quantum computers there. He's like a physicist. And he said when he's done his research and looked at down into the very core of what's at the essence of our reality, he found a binary code, which
All
is what
right.
we use with our computer. So
Yes.
anyway, the Mandela effect is proven. There are people who have different memories of things that have happened in the past. There's more things than what I've said. Again, if you go on YouTube and you just look on the Mandela effect, you'll see all kinds of
Right.
videos showing this. But
Right.
it could also be that um, many of these parallel Earths, they're all getting ready to kind of merge together. That's kind of like where we're heading. That's
Hmm.
another possibility that I've thought about as well. And so, because they're all getting ready to merge, that's why we're moving back and forth between
Right.
parallel Earths.
Right.
There was a TV show here in the United States called Sliders, which probably they didn't show in India. That really shows this. The daughter of a famous musician actually was one of the producers, and every week
Hmm.
they would take their main actors into another parallel Earth. So there was
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
one Earth where the Russians conquered the United States, and another one was where the Britain kept control of the United States. So a lot of them
Right.
focused around America, but
Right.
and then there was another one where there was uh, some other people who came from, I guess, more monkey evolution. They developed sliding, and so they were, invading all the other parallel Earths. So it was a very interesting show, showing
Yeah.
these possibilities.
I mean, it's quite interesting. I mean, if you think about the person who actually would go through the Mandela effect of having a memory which actually has never happened, I'm just trying to imagine what would happen to the psychology, and the way the surroundings, the people, how they will look at them, and they're like, you've lost your plot. It could be so devastating of sorts emotionally because nobody would believe what they're going through. That's quite
Exactly. Right. But then there's
so.
one other thing, which again, it's like this is the ultimate, and this comes through working with spiritual mediums who I was talking to beings from other
Right.
universes, dimensions, from spirit. And I said, what is it like where you are? Oh, well, time and space doesn't exist where we are. Everything is in the simultaneous now.
Right.
So that would psychology would be totally out of work if that was to happen. And that again, the only way one can experience any aspect of this oneness of all things and the simultaneousness of being in the same place at the same time all the time is you have to do your meditation and go within. Because our
True.
reality here, we have past, present, and future,
Right.
and it's probably going to continue like that for quite a long time, but it's a different experience, that's all.
Right.
We wanted, the soul, when it decided to come to Earth, wanted to pretend that it was separate so that it could have its own experience, its own challenges, you know, and not be dependent upon ask a question inwardly and collectively get all the possibilities from everyone else
Right.
as you go through the experience as a unique individual. So,
Right. Right. So,
so
Joshua, you had mentioned something on the lines of that the viewers can actually have their own crystal skulls. I'm actually intrigued to look at that skull again, which you had showed us earlier, and if you can share some information how the viewers can actually have their own crystal skull. This is beautiful. So, friends,
okay, so
imagine if you can have your own crystal skull. Joshua is gonna definitely tell us how. It's
right.
amazing
So
the
I'm
detailing
trying,
of it.
I'm trying as best I can to hold 10 pounds. If anyone
Wow.
saw the Indiana Jones film where they were throwing a skull in a bag, it's not possible because that skull
Right,
was not larger. It had to be plastic. There's no way
right,
I could throw the skull very far.
right,
You know,
right.
and for someone to be able to catch it. If I threw 10 pounds at you,
10 pounds. Yeah.
I could seriously injure somebody.
Right,
So,
right.
okay, so just this is as you can see, a single piece crystal skull. I'm sorry, my hands are shaking. It's heavy.
It's heavy.
And it was created by using diamond tip tools because quartz crystal is a pretty hard substance, so you have to have a harder substance. Diamond is one of the hardest, if
Hmm,
not the hardest we have. And so they
hmm.
have these drills, and it cuts through the quartz like butter. But even if you can do that, you still have to have a skill or a gift to do it. So to get your own crystal skull, there's some friends I know in Canada who have a tremendous collection of all kinds of crystal skulls, all different types of gemstones, all different sizes. So what I've done is I've made an agreement with them for the viewers of this show till the end of August. Now, if you watch this video and it's after August of 2020, the 10% will end. Okay.
Oh,
Okay, but you can still, contact us and we can still help you to get us go. It's just that for this show, they're willing for the end from today, which is being broadcast on the 20th through the last day of August. There will be a coupon code and a website that I give you. And, you can just look and see. Now, a key question people ask me is, how do I know which one to get? There's so many. See if there's one specific one, and you might want to start with the small one just as a practice go. But just one that kind of talks to you or pulls at you or you resonate with. And just trust that that's the right one to go because we have a saying, we say this, that the crystals or the crystal skulls pick us, we don't pick them. So that's what I think happened with Portal de Luz is, he was presented to me. I didn't pick him, and a friend presented the
right,
skull to me, and it was like, okay, I like him, good energy. I like the carving of it. Okay, now not all the modern skulls are going to be. This one is quite close to a human bone skull. They're not going to be as sophisticated. I mean, if you want a large, sophisticated done skull, it's going to be quite expensive. So that's why
right,
I'm suggesting for people who might say, yeah, there's something about this. I want to have my own experience with it. And you go to the website that I send to you, give them the coupon code, pick one out that you like. You get it at a 10% discount. Start with that one. And then, they're showing my email here,
Yes.
crystalskull@gmail.com. So you can contact us and we can give you advice and suggestion how to work. Or the free ebook, Crystal Skull ebook, that you're going to be able to receive again through the email that's shown there. That will also have some tips in it as well.
Right.
So,
Right. Wonderful.
so,
So,
but,
friends, yes, sorry, please go ahead.
but I have a warning to give. Okay?
All
If you
right.
decide to become a Crystal Skull Guardian, your life will never be the same again. I mean, our life is never going to be the same again after what's going on now. But if you're going to
Mm,
compound it with also having a crystal skull, from a year after you get that skull, nobody's going to recognize you. I mean, if you're really serious about working with it and so on, the things that could happen. But if you like adventure, if you're bored and you want some change, that's a good way to go. So I have to give that warning because I don't want people to say, "Well, Joshua, I heard you told me I should get a skull and I got one and everything changed. I didn't want it to change. I just wanted to have the skull and enjoy it." So
mm,
you just don't know what's
right.
going to happen.
Right, right. We can maybe just go ahead with a lot of positivity so that the skull which calls out to us, we give out the same energy, which is optimism. And it can only be for the good and for the optimistic life ahead. I mean, that's the best that we can do if we actually become a guardian to a skull. So, viewers, you heard Joshua. So, you have 10 days from today, 11 days to get that discount. And please feel free to get in touch with him on the email ID, which is just below. And he will guide you on which skull you can go in for. And few more updates, which will be telling you post this interview. So, please stay tuned. We are talking with Joshua Shipora. He is a crystal skull expert and a paranormal researcher. So, Joshua, I'd like to ask you the next question. What do you think about the ETs, the extraterrestrial intelligence? We've heard a lot about it.
Okay. Now, um, first of all, I don't believe I know that they exist. Um, how I know this is because I have what I would call spirit guides. And I don't like to call them extraterrestrial. I like to call them galactics. So
You would
that's
like to call
encouraging.
them
Galactics. Galactic.
galactics, right? Right.
Um, but let's look at it from a logical perspective first. So, how many people out there can logically believe that Creator, in his, her infinite wisdom, only wanted to have intelligent life on one planet in this large, tremendously infinite universes or universes? Doesn't make any sense, does it? No. I
No,
mean, even look at our world. How many different forms of life do we have? I don't even know if anybody knows the exact number. Thousands,
exactly.
hundreds of thousands. Okay, so why should there only be one planet with life? So that doesn't make any sense. But the main challenge is that the people who know don't want you to know. The people who know that this is true don't want you to know. They've done it. They've tried to go out of their way, uh, probably since Roswell, 1947, to make sure that anyone who has any good information has been ridiculed. At least that's what they did for most of the time. Now, in the last few years, I think it's changed because we have what are called whistleblowers. Now, I don't know any whistleblower myself directly. I'm going with my personal experiences, which is telepathic contact with other intelligences, and looking at clouds that I feel are hiding ships, which look like ships. Um, and also, and I just started to release this. The other reason that I know it's true is, how can I phrase this? Is when I've explored who am I? Where do I come from? The answer that I came up with is called a cosmic wanderer. Now the,
Cosmic
cos-
wanderer.
now, the cosmic wanderers were first written about by an early UFO contactee by the name of George Hunt Williamson, who I believe he was a wanderer also. And the wanderers are defined as cosmic chimney sweeps who go from planet to planet and help their civilization or their people or populations to go into a higher vibrational frequency or into the light. And um, so that's kind of what I feel like. I feel like I've been to many different worlds, but I can't remember per se. Um, and I also recognize, mostly through the person's eyes. The eyes are the seat of the soul and they emanate an energy. So a lot
Right.
of times when I'm doing sessions with people, and I'm looking in their eyes, I'm looking at the eyes of a soul who I believe is galactic, but chose to be incarnated on the earth, especially right now, to
Right.
help Mother Earth and the people to go through a total transformation, which is going to take us into golden age. And
Wow.
there's some other things I could say about that, but that will take me beyond this question. So if you want
All
me
right.
to say those other things, you'll have to ask me a different question. But
Right.
coming back to the extraterrestrials, I mean, if we went to a court of law with all the people's experiences and photographs and videos and materials that have been recovered, if we went to a court of law, they would say the UFOs exist. The evidence is overwhelming. Okay, the only reason why we haven't come to that point yet is because the let's call them the government agencies that are responsible for this made a decision long ago that they were not going to reveal to people what's really going on. So this is
Mm-hmm.
called UFO disclosure. But I believe that UFO disclosure already is happening because instead of the people who start talking about what really is going on and all of a sudden they have an accident or they die, this isn't happening anymore. These people who have been involved with black projects or there's talk of a secret space program or all these things, they're all coming out of the woodwork right now. And a lot of them are telling very similar stories. So
Mm.
so here's the story that I think happened, but I can't prove it. So people need to do their own research. I think in the 1930s, the United States started to have contact by radio with different ET or galactic beings, and the Germans also. And Germany actually had their own Roswell where a ship crashed, but according to quite a number of people now, some galactic race, but not a benevolent one, gave them the technology to build their own flying ships. So they didn't lose the Second World War. They built bases in Antarctica. Uh, the U.S. sent ships and planes to Antarctica to try to take them out, and their weaponry was ineffective against the anti-gravity UFO, flying type ships that came out. Um, you know, so um, so I think that well, this is what they say. Again, I can't prove it. That eventually the Nazis made a demand on the U.S. for its resources, and they had to agree. Otherwise, they would have shown what they had, their technology, that UFOs exist, that there's already been contact. So in other words, this contact was already starting in the 30s. In 1937, when Roswell came out, I read the book by Colonel Corso, where he talked about that, again, they kept it under wraps, but a lot of the things they found with the ship that crashed is now in our advanced technologies that we have. They gave it to, businesses and industry, claim it as your own, but don't say where it came from. So,
Mm.
um, so I think, where we are right now has indirectly been influenced by technology of different ET bases and galactics, and that the secrecy cannot be held very much longer. Okay, there
True.
is going to come a point where the galactics will be walking amongst us, and it will be common, and people will accept it. Now, which races will these be? I do not know. Um, I have a fondness for the Pleiadians. I think, they're kind of similar to us. They seem to be taller, but I don't know. Um, According to a medium I talked to, a Palladium channel through, they have to go through special training because their vibration is much higher than ours for them to maintain being in the physical. So I'm not exactly sure, but you know, so in other words, what I'm saying is they're real, they exist. We've had contact with them. There's a show on television very popular here in the U.S. called what is it called? Gosh, this is the problem when you become 65. You forget things. Um, anyway, this series of programs, what it's about is that aliens influenced the Earth long ago, like the gods of the ancient religions were actually them, and that
Right.
now they're coming back, to see what's going on with humanity.
Mm.
And I don't believe that. I think that they've been with us. They have bases underground, and the major challenge that we have now is, let's say, some not so nice aliens have been influencing us for a long time, and now more positive ones are helping us so that we can move towards more time of peace. So the Earth, which used to be part of a galactic confederacy, like in Star Trek, they have the Federation. That we're
Yes.
going to go back to that. That will be part of this confederacy. So we're going to have contact with many galactics, many different levels. And it won't just be because they're more advanced than we are. There are things about
True.
living on
True.
the Earth and the experience we have here, that are fascinating to them, that they have nothing like it. So it's going to be a really equal exchange.
It'll
So
be
I
an
know that,
amazing merger of sorts.
yeah. So I know because I believe my spiritual essence is this cosmic wanderer who's traveled many different planets, even though I can't remember all of them. That this is the future. I mean, the U.S., the Pentagon just released some, UFO things. Although one expert said it was a drone, it wasn't really a craft. But the thing is that if we've been in contact since the 1930s, some of the UFOs we're seeing are not extraterrestrial or galactic. They're ours. There are the
Oh,
ships,
okay.
like in Area 51, I'm sure they developed ships that they
Right.
tested and things
Right.
like that. Because if there is a uh, secret space fleet, then it means we have our own ships too,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
which which probably is necessary because there are some races that are not so friendly that we have to have our own protection from.
True. True.
Sometimes, and this is probably the reason why the positive ones have not come down here. It's like in Star Trek again, they had a rule where they're not allowed to interfere in the natural development of a species. So they've had to be careful in the interaction they have with us, which is probably why we call these individual star people, that there are many star people, which would be galactics who incarnated as humans, so that they could
Mm.
help to be examples of joy and happiness and peace and bringing in spiritual truth and the light. So I just think that disclosure is the key to the future being glorious. And
Absolutely.
as soon as it happens, we have access to their wisdom, their knowledge, their technologies. It's just going to change life as we know it here on this planet, and it's going to become
For the better. Yes.
much for the better. And I'll be one of the first to volunteer to go on the ships because I really, would like to see some of these other places. And
Maybe you've
and
already gone in a different dimension, in a parallel universe. Who knows?
right, right, probably have done that, but I'd like to do it in the physical form too. Have that
Wonderful.
experience.
So
Other
that
questions?
brings me to the next question, which would be what we are actually facing. So before we get on to that, the viewers who have just joined us, we actually speaking to a crystal skull expert, Joshua Shiperu. He has been kind enough to spend time with us and throw some insight on this entire thing. He is also a paranormal researcher. So, Joshua, I'd like to ask you the last question. So, we all know that, whatever is going on right now in the globe, the pandemic, the natural disasters also happened, like floods in different parts. The Australian bushfire happened, which was so, so sad for the animals. So many millions of dollars were lost in terms of the houses. And how is all of this reducing the collective frequency of the world? And how can people raise their frequencies during these times? I mean, everything is going kaput. Even the economy is going like there's no economy, I feel, so many places, so many countries.
Right. Well, I would say that many of us who are following a spiritual path, we knew that there was going to be some great challenge to come up
Right.
because a lot of us recognized that the systems that we had in place, that we were basing our lives upon, that it wasn't being done in a truthful and equitable way. So eventually, there had to be a shift that happened. Now, from a vibrational perspective, I've known since I've been interested in things of a spiritual nature, which takes me back to the early 1980s, the late 1970s, that the vibration of our Earth is also shifting every day. It's getting higher and higher. And part of the reason for this is because when I was doing my studies with the UFOs, there were messages that many people were receiving from the galactics. And one of them said that the entire solar system is going through like a vibrational shift. And the Earth is holding back the whole solar system. So what's happening right now is we're going through a very fast transformation. And normally when a planet is going to go through the transformation we're going through, it does it gradually. It's very harmonious and peaceful. But because we're going through it so quickly, it's like the truth right now is coming out everywhere. Whereas a lot of things were suppressed for a long time. And this basically comes, when I go on YouTube, um, well, how can I phrase this? I asked whoever is the spirit I work with, I said, I really want to know the truth of what's going on. Okay?
Hmm.
The good and the bad. I want to know both sides of it. And so basically, what my interpretation of what I've seen, without focusing so much on the negative and the fear and panic that's trying to be created by them, is I feel that as President Trump, our president, has said, and I know there's a lot of people who aren't sure what to make of him because he does a lot of strange things and things he says some people can't believe. But I think that indirectly he's involved with some people who have said all the suffering and the misery and the crime and the stealing and that only a small group of people have most of the wealth of the planet. This has to stop. And so I think they've been working quietly behind the scenes. And it's been said that they're using the pandemic where people have to stay home in order to take actions so they don't cause any panic and fear, if that makes any sense. So what President Trump calls this is clearing out the swamp, which means to try to bring back more peace and harmony. Now that talks about anywhere from our financial systems becoming more equitable. Like there's a program called Nasara, or I think it's just Sara for the planet, which I read the document, and basically it said that there would be new currencies shared on the planet that would all be backed by gold. Debt will be forgiven. So in other words, a lot of people right now are having trouble paying bills, or they owe a lot of money on different things. So this would be forgiven, and everything would be started. They call it a reset. And there's
Right.
some things I read, different people I talked to, but I'm willing to listen to anything. So this could be happening. But actually, in this month, there is an initiation already related to the financial system, that a new system has been put into place that is seamlessly, eventually within the next couple of months, is going to take over. And no one will be able to break into the system to steal money or anything like that. Our president talking about, if I understand him correctly, he was saying, if I become president and get reelected, there will be no more taxes. Okay, like people have to pay tax from the money they earn. He's saying there won't be any more taxes. So
Right.
some people
Right.
say, oh, he's just saying that to get elected, but I think that he's really serious about it. So when I go into this from a spiritual perspective, the way I would look at this, the way I would suggest people look at it, is don't get caught up in, like all the things we can't do. See it as a transformation that was going to happen, was predicted to happen, and that there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes which they're not talking about, which I believe by next year people will know about and understand why it had to be done this way, and it's going to be all in a positive nature. Now, here's the other part that's come to me. Again, I can't prove it. Part of this is in one of the free ebooks. I know you talked to me before we went on that you read this free ebook.
Yes.
This might sound crazy, but one of my guides' name is Argus. And Argus tells me he is who I become in our future, like 2037, 2040, which is not that far away.
Right.
And in Argus' time, there's total peace on the earth. It's paradise. The galactics are walking amongst us. People live in communities. All the adults are parents to all the children. Everybody, what their work is whatever makes their heart sing. So I like to be a teacher. I could see myself being a teacher in the future for the children and saying, young ones, I was there when we went through this transformation. It is nothing like what you're living now. Let me try to share with you the challenges that we have, which you will never see. You will never see. So, so it's a united earth. There are no countries. It's pretty much what John Lennon wrote in his song Imagine. Imagine no countries.
Right. Right. That's a beautiful song. Yeah.
Right. So this is what Argus is saying is the future. Now the key is he wrote through me one time while I was in Brazil. Now, when I'm in Brazil, all my spiritual gifts are hiding. So I think he used that time, and I was just open. And he wrote through me about what his future was like. And so before I went on a very popular radio show here in America called Coast to Coast, I got a message from Spirit that said, Joshua, you need to make a new ebook and put that message in there and just give it out to people who want to read it. Okay, so I did that, and then I added some other things to it. But what I was looking for also through whistleblowers or what experiences people were talking about was, could I get some collaboration that indeed there could be such a positive future like this? Is somebody else having a vision of this or so forth? So one day I watched a YouTube video about Project Looking Glass. The Project Looking Glass, yeah, is one of those secret black projects. And there was a man by the last name of Woods, I'm not sure of the first name. Carrie Cassidy has this show where she interviews all these whistleblowers and the conspiracy stuff and all that stuff. So she interviewed him. So I'm listening, kind of heard about Project Looking Glass, didn't know what it was. So what Project Looking Glass was a device that they use components from the Stargates they have. The Stargates are a device probably given to us by the Galactics where, you stand on this platform and if there's another Stargate device somewhere else, instantaneously you go to that one. And you can travel through space and time also, apparently.
Right.
So they took some components from this and they created a device where they could ask a question like, I would like to do this, what will the future look like? So it's to show future possibilities. So to give an example, now this of course would not be the example of the people using the device because they're going to use it for their own advantage. Okay. But say for example, you want to start a new business and you aren't sure which way to go. So you're with the device and say, okay, if I go this way, what will happen? If I choose this option, what will happen? And you'll see the possibilities.
Right.
according to Mr. Wood, I think he said this, but I'm not sure. But in the free ebook, there is a link to this interview so a person could check this out. I think he said that when 2012 came, December 21st, 2012, everybody thought that's the end of the earth, because the Mayan calendar ended. But the Mayans were saying that's not what the calendar meant. It just meant that the calendar restarts, a new calendar starts on that date. Because I talked to a Mayan priest about that, a Mayan daykeeper. But I think he said that around that time, whenever they would say, okay, we want to create this situation, Project Looking Glass would only show them one future and one future only, and it wasn't the future they wanted. You understand what I'm saying to you? If it wasn't, and they don't want other people to use the device now because they don't want to do that future. So in other words, when they first saw that future, they said, okay, then if that's the way it's going to go, what if we try this? Didn't change anything. Okay, what if we try this? Didn't change anything. So Mr. Wood compared it to a chess game. Let's say you're watching a chess game with two masters. I mean, they understand chess like none of us could even imagine. And it gets to a point in the game where where they both know who's going to win and who's going to lose, and the person who's going to lose cannot do anything to alter that future. He said that's what Project Looking Glass was doing. So what I'm saying is Project Looking Glass is confirming the future of what Argus is talking about.
Right.
So the key to this is, if we know, if we believe that we're going to have this positive future, and it doesn't matter what's going on right now, just like Project Looking Glass, don't give your power away to it. Like, for example, now this is just my opinion, okay? Everybody has different opinion, and I've shared this with certain people, and they got angry at me. They're saying one of the ways to protect ourselves is with the masks. However, when you go on YouTube and you listen to some medical doctors say, no, that's not going to help you, because you're going to be breathing in poison. We're exhaling poison from the body. You're going to keep breathing it in. It's going to affect your immune system. So the mask is not the best way to protect yourself. Plus, they're also questioning, are all these numbers the media is talking about, how many people have died and how many people have it, is it really true? And my intuition...
That's debatable. Very debatable.
Very debatable. And my intuition says, no, this is not true, because ask yourself, how many people do you personally know got sick? I only know of two relatives of my wife, and they recovered. Okay, and I'm listening to, and I have a lot of friends, and I hear very few people that have this. So could it be that whoever thinks they're in charge of our planet created the pandemic as a last-ditch effort for control? Because they did a pretty good job of it so far. But what I believe is also happening is the people that are working for this positive future are also using this period of time in order to clear out the swamp. And there's a lot of things that are coming out, sound very horrific, so I'm not going to talk about it. Many people probably wouldn't believe it. But, we live in a planet where there's a lot of positive and a lot of negative, but now it's time for us to start moving forward. And so these changes are necessary. We just have to go day by day. So the key is, what things can you do to keep yourself entertained right now? I mean, they're not making movies anymore, but maybe you can watch some things on TV. I know they're limiting people coming together in groups, but we can talk to each other. Like I'm here somewhere in India, but, talking directly, so we can do that and exchange things. We have time to read books, to investigate things. Tremendous videos are online. And I'm a game player, so there's an online game that I play that I now have a new family there of people and our team. And, so it's kind of challenging, but still it's things, that are fun, keep ourselves entertained, be positive. Um, so I believe what Arja says, that we're going to this positive future. So if
Very true.
anything that I've shared, uh, I mean, crystal skulls are interesting, UFOs are interesting, meditation, the dollar effect, the paranormal, but that the future of our planet definitely is going to be peace. I cannot accept in myself any other possibility, even though I don't know what are the sequence of steps, but I am pretty sure that when we have the direct contact with the galactics, which, we're already having this, it's just not publicly,
Right.
except for, when you see the ships. And there's been a lot of people who have seen ships at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, we don't know now, is it theirs or ours? Could be either. They've had even talk about, a mock invasion, making it look like galactics are invading us, but we're doing it to ourselves. So,
Right. Right. No, but you're
um,
definitely right when you speak about that we are actually moving in a direction of a lot of harmony, a lot of peace, a lot of love. And the best way to do that and go about it is to actually become so self-aware and become alert about your own thoughts. I mean, when we spoke about the seven chakras, the manifestation that we have in our own mind, going deep within your own self when you talk about the meditation. So I guess these are all the things which opens up a lot of possibilities, not only in our own life because we have that ripple effect, in others' lives. So yes, I totally agree with you that we are moving towards a beautiful golden age, and this brings to the end of our interview. I would like to keep going on and on, but we have limited time. I know you have certain things to also do, and so viewers, it has been a delight to have Joshua on our show. It's been so fascinating to know about the crystal skulls, about Argus, about the UFOs, about how you encountered the crystal skulls. So please remember, he is being kind enough to let us have the ebooks, and you can email to this email ID crystal skull explorers at gmail.com, and you'll have three ebooks absolutely free where you'll get to know a lot more about what Joshua has spoken right now with us in much more depth. And feel free to get in touch about getting your own crystal skull, because that's again, you become a guardian of a crystal skull. And as Joshua said, you have to be very, very careful and be extremely vigilant that your future again will change, but for the best if you have the right energies. So thank you so much, Joshua, for giving your precious time to be on Facebook Live, and for our channel, You Are Invincible. Thank you so much. It's a namaste that we say. It's like a greeting, a gratitude to you from our side.
actually, it means I see the light inside of you. So the light is inside of every human being. And one person can make a difference. Remember Gandhi? This one
Yes, Mahatma
person and
Gandhi.
all the same people. So if you're positive, you can make a difference. It starts with one person, and just be yourself, and amazing things can happen. And also, we do have a Crystal Skull website too. Just send an email that's showing here, and we can give that
Yes.
to you. We have a lot of articles on there about the crystal skulls and other information too. And don't be afraid to send an email. Don't think, well, Joshua's so busy, he's doing all these radio shows. I'm just here to share information. So if there's any way that I can be of service or have other questions, feel free to
That's really
ask.
kind of you.
And also, if you know any movie people, one of those books that he showed you is a novel. I really like to
Yes.
see that as a story. So I'm just putting that out there. It's
Yes.
my wish to create a big project. So thank you again, and watch You Are Invincible. They will have more great interviews on YouTube starting on August 27th. So I wish you guys a lot of luck, and
Thank you.
I'm sure you will do very well. I'm sure you will
Thank
do
you so
very
much, Joshua. Thank you. Namaste from India. And thank you, viewers who joined in. We'll see you very soon. Please take good care of yourselves and remain in a higher vibrational state. Take care. Thank you, Joshua. We'll have more conversations. See you.
well.
Bye bye.